The fluorescent lights of the Moscow, Idaho courthouse buzzed faintly as Bryan Kohberger stood before the judge. Gaunt, pale, and shackled in an orange jumpsuit, he murmured a single word: guilty. The courtroom fell into a heavy silence as the names echoed: Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, the Idaho Four. No trial, no death penalty, just the weight of 4 lives lost and a life sentence to carry that burden. The call that changed everything. Chief, we've got a bad situation. Captain Tyson Barrett's voice jolted Chief James Fry from the quiet hum of his drive home. 4 students murdered, stabbed at 1122 King Road. Known to many as Party Central, the house had always been a symbol of student life and laughter. Now it was a crime scene. Fry turned the car around, dread growing with every mile. He gripped the steering wheel tighter, already thinking ahead: the press, the community, the shattered families. A home full of life. The King Road house, once pulsing with energy, stood quiet. Maddie Mogen had made it a home. She was the heart of it, welcoming friends like Kaylee, Xana, Dylan, Bethany, and Xana's boyfriend Ethan. Their social feeds showed what you'd expect of college life: concerts, game days, silly dances in the kitchen. Maddie's initials decorated her window. Kaylee's beloved Golden Doodle Murphy was a fixture in their lives. These were young people in the prime of their lives. Maddie was known for her easy laugh and ability to make anyone feel seen. Kaylee was fiercely loyal and had recently returned to Moscow for the weekend, eager to introduce her new Range Rover and spend time with Maddie. Xana, majoring in marketing, loved trivia nights and late night snacks. Ethan, a triplet, played sports and loved the outdoors. Their lives were woven together like a family. The night the light went out. Saturday, November 12th started like many others. Friends came and went. Kaylee and Maddie returned home late after visiting a food truck downtown. Xana and Ethan followed not long after. Dylan, tucked into her room, drifted in and out of sleep. At 4:17 a.m., chaos shattered the silence. A whisper: "There's someone here." A male voice replied, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Then thuds. Murphy's barking. Dylan peeked out. A masked man, dressed in black, walked silently past her room. Their eyes met. She slammed her door. Frozen with fear, she tried calling her friends. No answer. She and Bethany huddled together, paralyzed, convinced they were seeing things, but it was real. Morning brings horror. By morning, unanswered messages raised alarms. Dylan called her friend Emily. Emily and her boyfriend, Hunter Johnson, came to check. Hunter went upstairs. What he saw would haunt him forever. Ethan and Xana, Maddie and Kaylee, all gone. All were brutally attacked. He told Dylan and Bethany to stay outside and call 911. Officer Mitch Nunez, fresh from the academy, arrived expecting a welfare check. He walked into something far darker. The crime scene was described later as one of the worst the department had ever encountered. Investigators knew immediately this was not random, this was targeted. And whoever did it had planned carefully. Lives remembered. Ethan Chapin was a triplet, joyful and grounded, who loved sports and the outdoors. His family described him as a bright light in every room, someone who could make anyone laugh. Xana Kernodle had a sharp wit and a warm smile, the kind of person who lit up every room. Her mother remembered her as strong, independent, and always dancing. Kaylee Goncalves was a protective older sister, bold and ambitious, with big plans after graduation. She had recently landed a job in Austin, Texas, and was excited to start the next chapter of her life. Maddie Mogen, kind and quick-witted, was Kaylee's best friend since 6th grade. They had been inseparable for over a decade, so close that Kaylee's father once said, "If you saw one, you saw the other." The four were more than roommates or classmates. They were tightly woven threads in the fabric of their community, inseparable in life, and now remembered together in death. The obsession begins. Soon, police linked Maddie's part-time job at the Mad Greek restaurant to a strange customer, Bryan Kohberger. Thin, intense vegan, he asked her out once. She declined politely. He left, but he didn't move on. He began following her on social media, watching her life unfold from a distance. Kohberger's phone records and internet activity would later show weeks of surveillance. He had driven by the house multiple times. He researched their schedules, and the night of the murders, his phone was off. only turning back on hours after the crime as he drove back to Pullman. Who was Bryan Kohberger? Kohberger was a doctoral student in criminology at Washington State University. On paper, he was smart, driven, but those who met him described him as socially distant with an unsettling presence. He'd applied for an internship with local police just months before the murders. His past painted a clearer picture. From a difficult adolescence in Pennsylvania, battling addiction and isolation, he'd long struggled to connect with others. In college, classmates nicknamed him the Ghost. He often seemed there but not present, obsessed with criminal behavior, especially the darkest kinds. Neighbors remembered him as quiet but odd. He kept to himself, often walking late at night alone. There were reports from bars where women had complained of his intense, off putting behavior. A twisted worldview. Kohberger's online activity and writings hinted at a fascination with incel ideology, a toxic subculture built on resentment toward women. He saw himself as overlooked, unwanted. Some of his classmates noted how he spoke to women coldly, condescendingly. One professor described him as aggressive in intellectual settings, especially toward women. One class confrontation, when he was challenged on immigration, reportedly left him shaken. He left class early that day. That night his car was seen driving into Idaho. The Silent Hunter. By the time Kohberger entered the King Road house, he had stalked his victims' routines. Cell phone records, surveillance footage, and genetic genealogy would eventually link him to the crime. His car, a white Hyundai Elantra, had passed the scene multiple times before and after the attack. DNA on a knife sheath left at the crime scene matched his. His arrest came over a month later in Pennsylvania at his parents' home. He had returned there for winter break. Justice without closure. Kohberger's guilty plea spared the victims' families a long, painful trial, but it did not bring closure. There is no sentence long enough to fill the void left behind. In the wake of the tragedy, the University of Idaho and the surrounding community grieved together. Candlelight vigils lit the night sky. Strangers left flowers outside 1122 King Road. Friends and professors shared memories, stories, and tears. Kaylee's family created scholarships in her name. Maddie's loved ones spoke of her passion for design and creativity. Xana's family launched a foundation in her memory. Ethan's siblings carried on his joyful spirit at the University of Idaho, continuing the education he never got to finish. Why we must remember. True crime stories are often consumed for their twists and darkness. But this story isn't about that. It's about Ethan, Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee. 4 young people with bright futures, whose lives were stolen by senseless violence. Their names deserve to be remembered not as victims of a monster, but as people who mattered, loved, and were deeply loved in return. As we remember their stories, let it remind us to be vigilant, to look out for one another, and to challenge the harmful ideologies that grow in silence and isolation. May Ethan, Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee rest in peace, and may their families find strength surrounded by a world that refuses to forget.